Fred Doc Ingold Award was established just a few years ago, and it's a little bit different. It's not an athletic award, although Doc was athletic director at Butler for many years. He came to Butler in 1950, a World War II veteran, Purple Heart veteran. Went to college when he got out of the service and came to Butler in 1950. He, within 2-3 years, he became the athletic director at Butler. Now, this award is given to a freshman at the end of everybody's 9th grade year. This award is presented to a freshman, and it's like an incentive for kids to aspire to do well in school. You could be an athlete, you may not be an athlete. Some are, some are not. But it's kind of like represents Fred in the fact that he was such an encouraging individual. Now, Bob and I both worked for him for years, and Bob played for him. Fred coached him, and he could be a trial. I mean, he wasn't always the easiest person to work for because he demanded a lot of you. And what he did was he set a standard for the coaches that the way that you conducted yourself, that you represented Butler High School, and there were certain things that you were supposed to do and certain things you were not supposed to do. And he set that example. And as a result, coaches would then pass that on down to their athletes. So it had such an effect on the entire school. And probably the most important thing with Fred, other than the fact that he established character as part of our athletic program, was the coaches that he brought into the school system. And Bob can probably address that issue as to some of the coaches, which made for a huge difference back in the 1970s and so forth, the so-called, as they say, golden age of Butler athletics. But Fred Ingold's directly responsible for most of that.
Before I was obviously employed as a PE teacher with Fred as our boss, my earliest memories of Fred, and this is the whole thing about the example to the freshman class. We're kids watching baseball practice, and a bat would get broken, and Fred would throw it to you, and take it home. Your dad could put some screws in that, and you can play it, and you'd always get a ball. So I said, we alluded to the fact that actually Marge did that. Doc did bring some coaches in and allowed coaches who came in to bring people in who were effective too. But just to cover a few, in 1968, he brought Jack Davies into the football program and started a nice run through the 83 football season. And then, basketball, of course he brought Marge into coaching almost every sport that started for the ladies: gymnastics, field hockey, basketball, softball, and obviously we know she did a wonderful job there and actually helped to initiate the movement of women's sports in the state of New Jersey. And then Art Pasquale came in and really put a pretty good charge into the basketball program, which really hadn't had much success since the time. There were a few times when Marge and I were in school that we had some productive basketball programs, but I brought that back, and then our field hockey program with
Liz Benny.
Liz Benny, and that's grown very well through the years with her. She was very passionate about that, and
He brought in Tom Hamilton.
root into Tom Hamilton into baseball, and he did an amazing job. I think he had 400 and some wins when his career ended, and
Right.
and he was a unique individual, and they played baseball like nobody ever had since back in the day, because Doc had some pretty good teams, and I was fortunate enough to play for him.
Track too. I mean, he had Rod Hamilton was a former Butler student with Ralph Raytheon and Jim.
Rutzler.
Yeah, Jim Rutzler and Pat Barry.
Pat Barry.
Butler graduate, And I mean, the track program was incredible at the time. It was one of the best programs in at least North Jersey, if not all of New Jersey at that time. So
And then Lori with gymnastics.
Lori with gymnastics, I
I mean,
mean,
that was a great program that
became
Marge started.
champion. Yeah. Well, Ralph
Ralph
did
was-
that with me, and whatever. But I wasn't quite in Lori's class when it came to winning championships and so forth. We started it, but she took it to great heights. So
and
you know, he was responsible for all that
all
too.
of that stuff. So, and like I said, he was a unique individual for sure.
Yeah, he set the standard. He'd come in and yell at you about something half an hour later, come back and apologize and tell you, well, I didn't really mean that. I mean, he's such a good person,
Yeah.
and he had such high standards for himself. And the program, Butler High School, meant so much to him, and he wanted nothing but the best for it.